So have you ever been sitting there and started thinking to yourself, like, man, I really want a movie that's equal parts phone booth, Mr. Crocket, Would You Rather, Truth or Dare, and Saw? Because if you have been thinking that, then tonight's movie that I'm going to be talking about is going to be right up your alley. In movie reviews, I'm talking your host. Stay tuned. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the show. I appreciate you tuning in for another brand new review. Again, tonight we are going to be talking your host. This one just recently had its premiere at FrightFest 2025, and I am stoked to talk about this one here with you. But of course, make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that follow button, no matter where you are tuning in. We got a lot of great horror content up on the channel right now, and a lot of really fun stuff coming up that I'm going to talk about at the end of the show for you all as well, too. But let's not waste any time. Let's jump right on into things here. If you have not seen the trailer for your host yet, four friends wake up in a bizarre abandoned factory, transformed into a deadly game show by a mass deranged host. The host forces them to play cruel games, and they soon discover the elaborate torture has a personal connection to one of the friends, with the host secretly seeking to punish a specific individual. And there it is, y'all. That is your host. Now, what drew me to this film first and foremost was the inclusion of Jackie Earle Haley coming back to do another horror project. Now, Jackie Earle Haley, of course, took over the role of Freddy Krueger in the 2010 Nightmare on Elm Street remake that a lot of you out there do not enjoy. I have talked about it numerous times on this show before. I am a fan of the Elm Street remake. I am a fan of Jackie Earle Haley's performance. I believe in letting go. I believe in moving on, and I believe he brought something different and interesting to the character of Freddy Krueger than what we had been seeing over the last 3 decades when that film had come out. I don't think folks are at the point to where they are willing to accept anybody else in that role. And that's going to be the hard thing. It's the reason why I feel Freddy just continues to sit on the shelf, because I think a lot of producers and writers are waiting for fans to stop wanting more of that old franchise that we're just not going to get. And I am one of those people. I just want more Freddy. We cannot get it the way that we've had it, folks. We have got to move on. Tell me about it in the comment section. I'm sure it's going to be filled of y'all hating up on the 2010 remake. But either way, I'm a big fan of Jackie Earle Haley and horror, and so that is what definitely drew me here to this project. And watching it, like I mentioned, it has a lot in common with a number of these other films that I've mentioned to you, like Phone Booth, Would You Rather, Truth or Dare, Mr. Crocket, Saw. And so the good thing is that if you do enjoy a lot of those films, especially those ones that have a franchise there to them, then you're going to get a lot of the bits and pieces, a lot of the blueprints of what makes those films so good featured over here in your host. The downside is just that those films do what they do much better. The story again falls along this group of friends who end up trapped by this sadistic individual who's putting them through these absolutely terrible, terrible games that they have to play in order to hopefully survive. But one of the bigger issues that we have starting off is that this friend group is just not all that likable. Ella Ray Smith, Jamie Flatters, David Englund, and Joel Ray make up this group of four who end up trapped playing these games. And we get to spend an extended amount of time with them before they actually end up being kidnapped in the first place. And I think the point of this time frame was to get us really endured to them, so when they start getting put through all these horrific activities, we can obviously feel some sympathy. We can be horrified by everything that's going on. But I think it actually ended up having the reverse effect, because spending the time with this group of four, they're not particularly likable. They try to set up James, played by Jamie Flatters, as being the asshole of the group, and the group's very honest that they don't like him and they only hang out with him because he's rich and they get access to certain things. But it's like, none of you guys are likable. He just happens to be upfront about the fact that he's an asshole. The rest of you guys are just kind of doing it underhandedly, but that doesn't exactly make you guys any better. So that's one of the bigger missteps that the film has, is that the characters are just not real written for us to really want to like them. In a Saw film, for example, when we get like the new group of folks who are being put through the test, I'd like to think that every film, good or bad, the entire franchise, there's at least one character that gets put through the trap. So whether it's Kramer or one of the apprentices, that you do genuinely feel bad for and you do want them to actually make it through. Like, yeah, they got to give up their pound of flesh, blood, whatever, but you still do want them to make it through the end of this thing. And watching this, I'm not saying that we don't feel like the punishment that these people are being put through is way, way more than they deserve and way more cruel than it really should be. I'm not saying that, but at the same time, you feel that in general. I don't know if you necessarily feel that because one of these four people are being put through the paces at this point. And that's not great, because that's what you want in a film like this, is to feel a connection to the characters that are being torn apart, so that when they escape, you have that same breath of release. You still feel like they've accomplished something, and you honestly have that feeling that they succeeded. They got put through, but they learned something, and they're going to live their life much better. But that's just not the way that this film is really set up. There's this whole mystery about whether or not the host had this bad past, and this is just like him lashing out to be the psychopath that he actually is, and that's not actually really the case. It becomes very, very apparent that this host had his life absolutely ruined, and that kind of just broke something in him, and he decided he needed to be the paragon of justice, not just for what happened to him, but for what's happening to a number of people out in the world, being taken advantage of, being ripped off, being hurt. All these things, it's the host's job to now be that avenger for all these people that are out there. And it wouldn't be the first time that we've seen a serial killer, somebody putting people through these things where they're absolutely going to end up hurt, trying to do the right thing or having some sense of justice. It's not the first time that we've seen that, but I guess the issue is that when we've seen that in other projects, other works, you do feel a bit more justified by what that character is doing. You do feel that the motive is a bit stronger. And horror is always so interesting, because prior to Scream in the mid-90s, a lot of times we weren't really caring that intricately about our killer having a motive. Like, they could just show up and be doing these terrible things, and it's like, that's the movie. You're literally coming just to see that happen. But, you know, Scream kind of upended so many things to where we really do expect all of our killers to have a really, really plausible motive for what they're doing. So it's hard, because I'd like to look at this movie just through the lens of some awesome gore, some gnarly ass kills, and say that's enough. But it's hard for me to shut down that other side of my brain and just feel like, man, like a lot of this is just not clicking the way that it's supposed to. And I hate the way that this sounds, because this sounds like it's a really bad movie. I don't think that Your Host is actually that bad, honestly. It's fine. It's absolutely decent. It's just the fact that it doesn't bring anything revolutionary here to its premise. And like I said before, you'd probably be better off watching one of these other films that seem to inspire it than watching this, because I feel there's going to be a lot of anger and a tad bit of confusion coming out of this about the fates of the victims and the fate of the host himself. Something about it just doesn't click the way it fully should by the time the credits end up coming through. Now, like I did mention here, there is no lack of blood in this one here for sure. Again, the best comparisons I really can give are the film Would You Rather. If you haven't seen that one, it's not really like Saw. A group of people get together and they get offered to win like copious amounts of money by putting themselves through these dares, which are going to end up causing them a lot of pain, a lot of hurt here. And they increasingly get bigger and bigger in what they have to do. I found more comparisons with that to what we're seeing here, because a lot of it they weren't really expecting how bad it could be. And it's like Saw, it's like, all right, chop your arm off, or you'll never walk again, or some shit like that, right? And that's not really what is at stake here. Like, these people and a lot of these traps are given ideas that they could just walk away by doing this one thing here. So I don't know, it's imbalanced, but if you're looking for some great gore and some seriously sinister kills, you are absolutely going to get that here. The hydraulic press, fucking insane, absolutely ridiculous, and how slow it was going too. Oh, yep. Horror movie does good gore these days. If I have to look off to the left, I have to close my eyes, go like that. That's how I know that the gore is being brought. And it absolutely is brought here in your host. Now, at the end of the day, if you're looking for something to kind of feed that bloody appetite that you have here coming up for our spooky season for Halloween, then this is not going to be something that is going to be a waste of your time. I do think it's for sure worth a rental, but temper those expectations though, just because again, the premise itself doesn't allow it to fully explore and make the characters we're supposed to be liking that much more interesting and able to let us empathize with them. And the host, unfortunately, is just a little too rough around the edges to really have us having his back like we probably should when everything is said and done. Also, the gimmick of the host like recording everything that's going on and putting on a show, honestly, and this is going to be a bit of a spoiler here for it, I do think that all of this could have been a lot more interesting if it really was being broadcast somewhere. We find out fairly quickly that this is just for the host. The host is just absolutely out of their mind, and the dude has just been recording the people that he's been putting through his continuous games, and that's it. But I do feel it was a missed opportunity to just embrace that and maybe have the host live streaming everything that he's doing at that point, you know? Something maybe a little bit more similar to like All My Friends Are Dead from last year, to where that killer was doing the same thing, to where all these deaths that were going on were being live streamed out to an audience. It kind of feels that that would have added just a bit more here to the sensibility of this film and what the host was doing. And it's part of the reason why, again, it's hard to really back the host in this film, because once you kind of step back and take a look at some of the choices being made, it no longer seems like it's just revenge for the bad things that happened to him, and it's just an excuse to be sadistic. So ultimately, your host gets a 3 out of 5. I know I seem like I was really down on this one, but again, it is a decent film. It's just the sum of its parts do not make up a great collective whole, and you're left wanting a lot more from the story and from the characters by the time the film is over with. Now, if you get a chance to check this one out, you, of course, can let me know in the comment section what you think of this one here. Again, it just recently had its premiere at FrightFest this past weekend, and so I imagine it'll hit digital sometime in the next month or so for all of you to check it out. But once you do, want to hear what your thoughts are on it, let me know that in the comment section. And of course, get subscribed to my channel so you can check out all the great stuff we're talking about in the world of horror. The best way to do that is to get to my link tree at linktr.ee/T Scary Movie. If you get subscribed, that's going to give you access to the YouTube page for the video versions of the show, your favorite podcasting platforms, the audio-only versions of the show, my Letterboxd page for written reviews and movie rankings through the year, my TikTok page for short horror content including movie news and movie reviews and movie premieres, my Twitch page for horror gaming including Phasmophobia, and my Fangoria shop page where you can enjoy a 20% discount off anything in the Fangoria shop. Take advantage of that, y'all. Hit that subscribe button no matter where you are checking this out. Again, we got a lot of great stuff coming up for you here this week. We are going to be talking Fright Night. We're going to be talking more Alien Earth, more Dexter Resurrection, and I got more films from Fright Fest coming up for y'all as well, too. Hit that subscribe button because we still got more fun to talk about, y'all. That is it for tonight, though. My name is T. We've been talking scary movies. Stay scared.